it up for Seth Milstein.
Thank you. Marijuaneers, weediators, bluntologists, and dabomaticians. I'm asking you guys to stop, please. I can't take it. You're making weed way too potent. I can't deal with it. Now, I started my journey with marijuana in the Midwest with brickweed from Mexico. The thing was, after you bought your weed, the next hour was spent not smoking and doing a bunch of work to get all the seeds and stems out. That's real. It was the worst. And I remember the first time I actually got high off of weed. It took a while to get high because that's not really technically weed. First time I actually got high off of weed, I actually had my first good night's sleep in my life. I had insomnia all through my childhood because I grew up in New York. It's scary there. It's scary for kids. But no, I was sold. I was sold. The first time I got high, I was like, I'm in. What do we gotta do to get this shit legal? And I've wanted weed to be legal for so long in my life, and now that it's legal, I think we made a mistake. I think we fucked a lot of shit up. Because, first of all, I miss code words. I miss using code words over the phone. It was fun. I'm a dumb stoner, and I got to pretend to be James Bond for 12 seconds while I was talking to my dealer. My brother's word for weed over the phone, his code word was chicken. And I always thought that was a ridiculous code word to have, because if the DEA was listening to your call, like, they'd just be like, this dude's paying crazy amounts of money for chicken. I paid $50 for an eighth of an ounce of chicken. That's not even one finger. My code word for weed over the phone was weapons-grade plutonium. Because fuck them. If they're going to listen to my calls, I'm going to make them work for it. I'm like a dad, and I have to do math for work, so I can't be the guy that smokes all the time. So like I'm at this point in my life where I still want to look cool when somebody that works in the weed industry offers me stuff, but I know it's going to ruin my life for the next 18 hours. It's terrible. I remember the first time I ever smoked hash oil. I was in Portland, and I was with a comedian who's now almost famous. His name's Ron Funches. You may remember him from the Trolls movie. He played the voice of a troll who shat cupcakes. So his career is going great. And here's the thing, I'd fucking kill to have that job right now. But I had to pick him up. We used to have this thing where he was a lot more successful than me. So he lived in Salem, and he would see online, because I would post every dumb little shit show that I would do online, and he'd be like, hey, I saw that you're playing at the Crab Shack in Portland. Well, I'm headlining the Helium Comedy Club. Can you give me a ride back to my house after the show? And so I'd have to find him wherever he was. And I went to pick him up at this dude's house. Some of you guys might know this guy, Ganja John. It was a dude in Portland. He's since moved to California and does nothing but talk shit about Oregon since then. So, but we went to Ganja John's house, and he goes, "Hey Seth, you smoke weed?" And I have never been afraid of that question since I was 17 years old. But he had a dab rig, and I had never seen one before, and I didn't know what was about to happen. I thought I had to have an advanced degree in physics to get high. And I was like, yeah, mostly I smoke weed. And then he goes, you want some hash oil? And I said this, and it was true at the time. I said, I don't know if you eat that or smoke it. And he was just like, sit down. And he gave me one hit of this thing, and it ruined me. It ruined me instantly. I just laid back in this chair, and I was like, we're not driving a car for a while. might just live with Ganja John now. And after I took a hit, they told me a story about a mutual friend of ours who had his first dab a week earlier and shit his pants. A grown-up, an adult man, shit his pants, and I was just like, no. Because I don't know if I could keep myself from doing that right now. But I did not shit my pants. I remember we were driving back from Portland that night after I waited like 3 hours, and I was still way too high to drive a car. And we're driving back, and I was talking to Ron, and I was telling him the story. I think, like my mouth was moving and syllables were coming out. And in the middle of my story, Ron just starts singing a song. And it wasn't like a real song that existed. It was like a song you would make up to keep yourself like awake on the highway. And I was like, dude, you started singing your song in the middle of my story. And he goes, wait, you were telling a story? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, you weren't just singing this exact song? And I was like, no, I was not singing a song that you're making up off the top of your head with you and before you. That's impossible. And then he looked over at me and said the truest words that have ever been spoken, which were, damn, we're real fucked up on hash oil right now, so you are correct. And then I dropped him off, and I swore, I was like, I'm never doing that again. I'm never doing hash oil again. That's a ridiculous thing to do. So a month later, I'm at a comedy show in Portland. We're having a good time, and this guy that I knew walks up to me, and he just goes, hey, you want to smoke some hash oil? And I forgot about what had happened. It was hash oil, that's it. So I was like, yeah, I do. And then and he had a little thing, a little pen windjammer thing, and I smoked a couple of hits off of it, and then he fucking disappeared into the crowd like a magical marijuana wizard, and just left me alone, and I just had to be alone being that high in the middle of this show. And like, it was fucked up because all of a sudden, I started to smell shit in the room. And I remembered that one of the side effects of smoking hash oil is you could shit your pants. And I was like, would I know if I did? I don't know. And I ran to the bathroom and I was fine. I did not. And then I came back out and I was standing in the same spot. And I smelled it again, and I was just like, oh man, this smells like shit. And then I'm like looking around, and there was this crusty looking hipster dude, and he was the type of guy that looked like he might shit his pants and then not do anything about it. And I kind of like, I leaned over, and I was like, and I couldn't tell. It didn't smell any more or less like shit around this dude. And then I'm so high that I have to know now. I have to know this dude has shit his pants. So I devise a plan, and this was my plan. I'm gonna reach in my pocket, I'm gonna pull out a lighter, I'm gonna drop it behind this guy, and I'm gonna bend down, and while I'm down there, I'm gonna just check this guy. I'm gonna nose check this dude. And I'm thinking about it, I'm like, is this smart to do? And then I was like, probably, it's hash oil. Just concentrates. And so I did. I fucking pulled out the lighter, I dropped it on the ground, and the whole time I was waiting for somebody. The only reason that I did not run out to my car and run down the street screaming because I was too high to live was because I was waiting for someone. So I dropped the lighter on the ground, and I reached down, and as I'm reaching down, I'm like, I'm about to smell a stranger's butt. That's what's happening. And so I'm rethinking every decision that I have made in my life that has led me to this point. And I'm on my way down, and I was just like, because the best case scenario is that I smell a stranger's asshole and it smells like shit and I'm not crazy. That's the best case scenario. And so I get, and I'm about to turn my head, I'm about to do it, and then my friend that I was waiting for walks in and he was like, hey dude, what are you doing? And I was like, picking up this lighter, and that is all. That's all I'm doing. Leave me alone, stop. And then we're standing there, and then I see him out of the corner of my eye, my friend. I see him go. And I'm like, it's happening. He smells it too. I'm not crazy. And he looks over and he goes, do you smell popcorn? And I look to my left, and the entire time I had been standing next to a popcorn machine that was popping fresh popcorn, and I was so fucking high that I mistook the smell of popcorn for the smell of shit. That's too fucking high. Stop making concentrates, guys. Stop doing this to me. Now, I remember when the worst case scenario with pot was that you would smoke a joint at a party and you'd fall asleep. And if your friends were cool, they'd drop dicks all over your face. That's the worst case scenario. But now you can have a fucking psychological breakdown from doing too much pot. I also write for a magazine that is based in Humboldt, California. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of that area. I write for Savage Henry magazine. Some of you guys used to carry that magazine in your shops. Anyway, when I set up the deal to write for them, the deal is that they were going to pay me $10 a month for 400 words, because that is the price of modern journalism today. And he goes, I could either pay you $10 a month, or I could just buy you 3 tacos and a beer. And I checked the going rate for 3 tacos and a beer. It was $11.50. I went with the smart money. Jew shit. So we that's the deal. Is basically once a month, a big fat guy with a beard and a tie-dye T-shirt comes up from Humboldt. He gives me a stack of magazines, buys me 3 tacos and a beer, and we call it good. Recently, he came up and he said, "Hey, my wife made some cookies." And if you know Humboldt, that means weed. And I'm not good with edibles, and I knew I'm not good with edibles, but I don't have the confidence to not be a cool guy. So I was like, yeah, I'll have a cookie. And he gave me a cookie, and I ate it. And I was like, we just gotta get through these tacos real quick, and then I'll go home and cry. So I eat the cookie, and then he goes, you know what, Milstein? You seem like the kind of guy who can handle 2 cookies. I was like, all right, I'm gonna trust you on this, because you are wearing a Grateful Dead t-shirt. I'm gonna trust you that you know what that kind of guy looks like. And I ate the second cookie, and I swallowed it. It was past the point of no return. And then he just goes, I'm on 2 cookies, and it's pretty fucking intimidating. I was like, God damn it! So now I gotta fucking deal with this for the rest of my life. So I ate the cookies, and and then 1.5 hour later, we're in a taco restaurant, and the only thing that I know in the world anymore is that I am not the type of guy who can handle 2 cookies. That is an absolute fucking fact. I can't deal with that shit. So I'm just sitting there, and like, he's out of his mind. I'm out of my mind. We're just staring at each other with just big dumb red eyes, and we're eating tacos. And here's how fucked up I was. I think that I might have tried to shave my face with a taco in that restaurant. I don't know. Everybody was staring at me. That's all I know. So then we just hear somebody, no one at our table, but we hear the words ice cream ambiently, like in a conversation at a different table. And then he just looks at me and he goes, do you guys have ice cream in Eugene? And I was like, yeah, we're a place. Like we have stuff. And he's like, we gotta get ice cream. And I was like, I know, because I don't know if you guys know this. If you're that high and somebody says ice cream and you don't then eat ice cream, everybody dies. That's a true fact. That's a true fact about marijuana. And so we went to this little ice cream parlor. We go to this ice cream parlor, and we walk in, and it's like a little boutique ice cream parlor. And we walk in, and like everybody is just beautiful blonde-haired Aryan families with their rescue dog. They just got done hiking Pisgah, and the rescue dog is somehow a purebred Rottweiler. I don't know how they manage that. And like we just walked in and we're just two fat guys who've made terrible facial hair decisions. And like you know that whole thing of like when you're super high in public and you think that everybody knows you're high, but they usually don't. But they definitely did this time. And the way that I know is that I walked up to the counter and the guy just looked at me and he looked into my eyes and he just went, okay. That is not a professional way to greet somebody. Not at all. So I order my ice cream, and he's right. He's right. I was that high. I would have laughed at me too. So I order my ice cream. It's a complicated order because I'm a complicated individual. And I said, listen, I want a double scoop. I want it in a waffle cone. I want the bottom scoop to be chocolate. I want the top scoop to be mint chocolate chip. And then I said it perfectly, and he looked at me and goes, good job. And I was like, still not professional. So they gave it to, I won't even get into what it was like to eat ice cream in public that high. All I'm saying is if you're a grown-up man with a mustache, you don't eat ice cream off of a cone anymore. There is a napkin ratio that you will never fucking get right. But at this point, I was so stoned that I could not fucking deal anymore. And I just knew that I had to go home. And I didn't know how to break company with my friend. So the way that I did it is I literally just said, hey, look over there. And he did it, and I ran in the other direction. I just ran to my car, and I got my car, and I drove home. And because all I wanted was to be alone so that I didn't have to be self-conscious. That's all I wanted in the world. And I drove to my house, and I was so high that I forgot that I have a family. So I got to my house, and not only did I still have to deal with people, but I had to interact with them on a much more personal level. I walked into the house, and my son, who was 8 at the time, was watching a Jackass movie, which I did not want him to be doing, but I was in no position to exercise any authority over anybody. So I just sat there and I watched it with him. And every once in a while there would be like balls or something on the screen, and I would just look over and be like, you probably shouldn't be watching this. And then he would look at me really indignantly, and he would go, but Dad, I want to. And I would go, well, that's a pretty good reason to do anything. Follow your dream. That's cool. Go for it. But then that reminded me, him saying that reminded me that I was his dad. So I stood up in the middle of the room and I just said, bedtime. And everyone left the room, and I was like, I won my family, my house. And then he came back in 5 minutes later and he goes, I brushed my teeth, it's time to read. And I remember that a significant portion of bedtime was that I have to read words out of a book and then say them in the same order that I read them. And I did not know if I would be able to do that. And he didn't either, because he looked at me and he said, Dad, what's wrong with your eyes? And I said, what are you talking about? And he goes, they're not open. And I was like, that is not going to change tonight. We're staying on course with that. And so I started reading the book, and I was able to read the book. I was able to read. I was able to say the words out loud in the correct order. The problem that I did not anticipate was that I got way too emotionally invested in the story. immediately. Like within 1 page of reading, I was sobbing out loud, and I was just like, "Why is Dumbledore being so distant to Harry right now? He doesn't understand the Order of the Phoenix. He needs a male positive role model." And I freaked out because I was like, "Oh shit!" I just broke down and started crying in front of my son, and I had looked down, and he had fallen asleep. So it was nice to know that the sound of Daddy sobbing will lull my child to sleep. But also, I had given him a cookie too, so we'll see. In closing, I just want to say that I think the worst thing that we did by legalizing weed is justifying pop culture. I think that. Do you know? In the past 2 years, I have gotten a repetitive stress injury from ducking hacky sacks and devil sticks. Do you know how many times I've seen Sublime with Rome in the past 2 years? I haven't ever bought a ticket or seen them live. I just see them around town because they play that often here. We need to chill out. No, seriously, I never would have been able to sleep a night all the way through if it wasn't for the weed industry. I liked it better when you were black market because I just used to get free weed from the sound guys at all my comedy shows, but now you guys are making me pay for it. I just got my stitches out from getting gouged over prices for a gram. No, but you guys are fucking amazing, and you know, I do work for Perimeter of Oregon. We work with a lot of you guys, and we love it. And because you guys are actually creative, we're not just writing like dumb shit on somebody's left chest. But you guys are great, and I love it, and I love you guys, and keep doing what you're doing. And then also, whenever you see me ever, give me free weed. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Give it up for Seth Milstein. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now your headliner's coming to stage. He's one of my favorite. You may have seen him in Portlandia. You may have seen him in Vice Bong Appetit. He's also done the High Times Cannabis Cup. He's also gotten Dave Chappelle way too fucking high. Make some noise for Tom!